9/11, my goodness. Charlie yesterday, 9/11 today. Heavy hearts this week for sure. Welcome back, everybody, to American Sunrise. We've got more reaction coming in about the assassination of Rav's own Charlie Kirk. President Trump, of course, as you probably know by now, he posted this on Truth Social. The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he's no longer with us. Melania, my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. All right, for more, let's bring in the host of Bolling. Of course, you can see that weekdays here on RAV at 4 p.m. That'd be Eric Bolling. Eric, I say good to see you, but, gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I'll say this, I've interviewed Charlie. We've all interviewed Charlie quite a few times. Here's what he told me back in 2019, Eric. This is a quote. "The hatred we receive as Christians is biblical," is what he told me. "It's prophesied, and you shouldn't try to make excuses for it, no matter what we're going to be persecuted." So, here he was on college campuses, and he took a bullet for freedom. He took... he was doing what he loved, which is having civil discussion, even though people were being uncivil towards him. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning. Yeah, you guys are so right. Good morning, guys. What a day. He that's probably why he's not with us anymore. He was too effective. He was reaching young people. He was reaching millions and millions of young people. He just had a sense of what people wanted. And because of that success, he became a target. I don't understand some of the reaction while it was happening by the left-wing media, some atrocious things coming out of MSNBC, Matt Dowd. He got fired immediately for it, thankfully. And the others, the TMZ video is insane. Clapping when in the background when they hear right. Charlie's passed. We'll get to that, but today's a day of mourning. Tragedy happens and it's horrendous. The next day is typically the hardest. You wake up and that poor family, Charlie's wife Erica and the two beautiful girls, wake up and realize it really did happen. It wasn't just a horrible dream. It's a tough day. So we keep them all in our thoughts and prayers, obviously. But his legacy's got to go on, otherwise they win. It's not a question. Dr. Gina was on, and we were live when that announcement was made yesterday afternoon. And of course, the initial reaction is shock, sadness. I got angry pretty quickly, though. I got right to that anger stage pretty quickly because we're not talking about a Democrat candidate for president almost assassinated a couple of times, or one of the biggest names in the progressive movement, tapping into young progressive votes, young people in college and high school even being assassinated. We're talking about conservatives, and it's over and over again. If there's any question of which one is the party of violence, I think that question went out the window right now. But Charlie's death, let's not make him die in vain, and let's carry the torch. Someone will pick up the torch at TPUSA, and let's do it because he was onto something big.
Yeah, next man up, as Steve Bannon said so appropriately. It's hard to get there, though. Eric, that was my first thought this morning when my feet hit the floor, because I saw the beautiful sunrise this morning, and I realized that for Erica and her children, they're going to see this sunrise too, and it's going to feel very different than any other sunrise. But after the show yesterday, when you and I were on, as we found out for sure, conclusively, I think, confirming all of our worst fears that indeed he had been assassinated, you said this is very personal to me. Can you talk to our audience, because a lot of our audience is mourning this in their own very personal ways as well. They've lost loved ones like you have that have felt very personal, and they've had to continue the fight. Can you advise our audience that is mourning this morning on how to put that one foot in front of the other?
I don't know that there's any advice. Everyone grieves in different ways, and it's a process. It's a long, painful process. The good news is Charlie was so loved by everybody. That's probably why he became the dangerous to the progressives or whomever did this, whoever group did this or person did this. My wife points out it almost feels like it was more than just one angry person. The effectiveness of the assassination, the fact that, the escape and all that. So I don't know. The good news is that he was so loved that someone will pick up where he left off and will continue. I'm sure TPUSA will be just as strong, if not stronger, in the aftermath. And Charlie, has become the symbol, become kind of martyred, the symbol for perseverance. I'm literally launching a new show talking about perseverance, persevering through the pain, through the fires, through the challenges. The fire doesn't burn us, it forges us, and that's what we need to do right here and right now. Is to coalesce around Charlie's vision and continue it in the name of Charlie. I just feel for that family, Erica and those two little girls. Oof, tough times.
Absolutely. Eric, I want to broaden the scope a little bit. And you mentioned this earlier, and I have to admit, I waffled about reporting on the disgusting displays from the left following the passing of Charlie. But I thought it was important to share with our viewers the sort of atmosphere and environment that we're in politically and how ugly some people are in this environment. How do we get past this? And I say this in the context of us remembering September 11th and the attacks and how America came together following those attacks. How do we get back to this American pride?
Yesterday was the opposite of what today memorializes. Yes, today memorializes they were all Americans who were attacked by outsiders, by radical Islamic terrorists. And they killed thousands of innocent Americans of all stripes, right? Yesterday was a targeted hit on the conservative movement. Literally, when this happened, the last question I threw around the panel yesterday at 4:00 was, how do we ever coexist again when one side hates the other side so much that it's better to have the other side killed than to have them express their God-given freedom of speech? How do you coexist? You don't. Terrence, I don't know. I think we've gone on a path of bifurcation, left, right. It's gotten wider and wider, and it may be at its widest ever. And with the assassination of Charlie, I don't know that there's a united, certainly not in the near future. Maybe there's a person walking today who's going to figure out how to bring the two sides back together. I'm not very, certainly not in my lifetime, I'm not very optimistic that that feels like we're both on separate trajectories, almost like we're two separate species, so to speak. Well, they celebrate the death of a young man, a young father. It's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, it's
It's
interesting
despicable,
that you say
absolutely.
that. Yeah, because, and I'm going to invoke this term, but I want to unpack it. I do believe it's spiritual warfare. And once again, we say that so often and people go, okay, wait, spiritual warfare? What are you talking about, spiritual war? Look, here's the thing. Spiritual warfare, okay, there's a fight going on above us that we have no clue about, okay? But that's happening. But beyond that, here on earth, someone's values are going to reign supreme. And this is a literal battle over values. And when I say warfare, in this case, Charlie was using his brain and his heart and truth as his battle weapon, if you will. It was his brain, and the left does not like that, because the left, after about a half a paragraph, they're done. And they don't want to have the argument because they can't win the argument, Eric.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's spiritual warfare. Someone say, I agree with you, but I've heard, a loaded term. Isn't that an oxymoron? No. I mean, Charlie was a very spiritual man, and there will be those folks that kind of pick up that lane of Charlie Kirk, and the others he was so good at tapping into young people, and he just nailed it, because it was always, the conservatives were always the people who went through the university system, let's call it that way, get indoctrinated by the liberal education system in America. And then once they start working and paying taxes and understanding what the world's all about, they go from liberal to conservative. That's what it is. And Charlie realized that let's get them before that. Let's get them before, we have to wait till they're in their late 20s or early 30s before they realize that conservative values are more livable working values than progressive. So someone will pick up that lane as well. Charlie was so talented. He deserves all the accolades we can possibly give him. We should probably give him the whole day and just talk about him all day. We certainly should, or have. I probably will at 4. And maybe, the movement should, maybe MAGA should just continue to play Charlie's words, because
Yes.
they were right. They were he was on the right track, and that's why he was assassinated, mowed down.
And it wasn't just one generation of youth that he inspired. I was really, it was, my whole family came over last night because I just didn't want to be alone, and they didn't either. And it was just astonishing to me to see a whole 11-year spread of my children who were all so close to Charlie and all felt like he was their best friend and their mentor. My 30-year-old daughter and my 19-year-old son, who will be on the show with us here in just a little bit, both felt that connection. And my daughter considers herself a millennial, and my son is Gen Z. And so that's really two entire generations that Charlie led and inspired. I don't know how you replicate that, but I feel like he did. And I feel like in his death, it is going to be next man, next woman up. And Eric, I just wanted you to speak to that, because you've witnessed the whole thing too.
Yeah, I think you're right. In fact, Gina, I met your lovely family many times at CPAC. I was a TPUSA had such a huge presence at CPAC. I used to speak at TPUSA. I was a board member. I was the advisory board member of TPUSA for years. Yeah. You're right. You don't replicate it, though. You continue it. It's not going anywhere. So the good news is there'll be talented people, your family, Bo, and they'll pick up the torch and run it forward. But you're right. He touched young people as young as your children when they were much younger, all the way up through, when we were there and talking on stages and whatnot.
Yeah. Eric, what's the oldest?
Let's not try and replace Charlie with a new TPUSA. Let's just make sure his vision is well funded and fueled going forward. Sorry.
Yeah, Eric,
The
I just wanted
movement
to.
will continue.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead, Dr. Gina.
Well, I just wanted to ask you what your youngest. Right, I remember Charlie when he was 14 years old. Do you remember him before that?
I don't remember that. You told us that story. I think my first memories of Charlie, when he started to bubble up early in the first Trump presidency. I remember seeing him. I used to do a show in D.C. and have to be in D.C. quite a bit, and at the Trump Hotel, and he was always there. He was always present, and he was very well loved throughout.
Absolutely. Eric, we appreciate you joining us this morning with your perspective. Sending hugs your way, my brother. And we will continue. This movement will not stop despite Charlie's passing. We're going to continue to honor him by our actions and by continuing to keep his memory alive. Appreciate you being here, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you too.
Eric.
Of course. While we continue to remember Charlie Kirk, we're also remembering the September 11th terror attacks on America. On this day, 24 years ago, nearly 3,000 people were killed when al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked 4 airplanes. 2 of them crashed into the Twin Towers there in New York. The Pentagon and a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania were the other crash sites. America, of course, will never forget that day. For uninterrupted coverage of today's ceremonies in memory of the lives that were lost during those attacks, head on over to Rumble and X. We, of course, will have full coverage there. But for now, let's bring in American Sunrise Early Edition host Jake Novak, who's in New York for today's ceremonies. Jake, good morning. I'm curious if the atmosphere there in New York is a little different today. Obviously, we're affected by Charlie Kirk, but to a man on the street, is there a difference? Are they also aware of this cultural shift that's happened, this national loss?
I think that there's a special kinship that people feel now as the country is mourning, and so many people are mourning about Charlie Kirk's assassination. These people who come here and have been in a state of mourning, but not in just a downtrodden state of mourning, also in remembrance, now are really, I think, welcoming that with open arms. In other words, this is a place where you can talk about these things. These people are sadly, but proudly, the experts on this kind of thing, and we see people walking around. There's a lot of talk about, are people safe in America anymore? And we're all sort of smiling to ourselves that at least here at this moment, with so many police officers and fire department people, we're in the safest spot in the country, probably right at this moment. That's where I stand, as much as it is a mournful time. So, Terrence, I have to say that This is something that they're used to. In many ways, they've been dealing with the pain that a lot of us are dealing with for the first time today, for those of you who didn't experience 9/11 like I did and so many people here. And all I can say, it's a kinship. There's a kindred spirit here, and a place that you can go for that.
Jake, what is your take on, does the average person on the street, I mean, I was wondering this, like I was texting with a friend this morning that I buy chickens from, and she didn't say anything about Charlie, and I thought, I wonder if this is like a conservative thing. Is this just inundating us because we are all so grounded in our faith and our politics, or is this something that really is affecting the people you're talking to today there at the memorial?
Well, at the memorial today, Dr. Gina, I would say absolutely there's an awareness of this and a feeling about this, much more than probably even just a few blocks away from here in New York. Not because New York is a liberal city or a Democrat city, just because it's not as, there's a type of person here that isn't connected to our domestic politics in any way,
right.
One way or the other, right or left. So you make a good point. I don't know if this is, and we shouldn't necessarily indict everyone who may not know about this situation or know about Charlie Kirk, because they may just not be as plugged into things. I think, however, if you are plugged into politics, if you're plugged into the discussion in this country, you're certainly aware of this. And I think David Zier said it as well earlier. I'm happy to see that most of the people, even the people on the left, seem to be acting appropriately. We have some egregious examples of people who haven't, and those people should be taken to task. But Dr. G, I have to say, I think most of the people out there who are responding to this are responding to it in a somewhat, at least somewhat, and sometimes even very respectful way.
Jake, we're, of course, preparing for the first commemorations. Names will be read throughout the day. There will be moments of silence and that kind of thing. And, of course, we'll take our viewers there live. But as you're so close, as you're kind of there in the environment, one of the things that struck me in looking at some of the video is that today isn't about partisanship. Today is about unity. Today is about America. We've seen the vice president there, J.D. Vance. We saw Rudy Giuliani in his wheelchair there. We saw Eric Adams come by and greet Rudy Giuliani. Today is about unity, and it's really where our country should be headed. And I think today is what we should all aspire to in terms of that sort of unity and that sort of national pride. That's the term that I keep coming back to, national pride.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's not just political unity either. It's also very geographic. I mean, we were standing here with firefighters from Connecticut. I saw a police veteran from San Francisco. People who were, some of them actually came after 9/11 to help in the recovery process, but others were just here because they were here to give thanks and to give honor to their fellow firefighters and police officers who fought and died here today. I mean, I would say the word fought, too, because they fought for the lives of the civilians who were caught in the middle of this. So I think that that's a great term. It's a geographic unity as well. There are people from all over the world here today, some of whom may not have even been alive on 9/11, but they're showing their honor here. They're showing their respects.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. It feels better somehow knowing that people are celebrating America today. I don't think Charlie would want it any other way. Jake Novak, thank you for being with us.
Thanks, Jake.
We have more of our continuing coverage of the 9/11 terror attacks and, of course, of the political assassination of Charlie Kirk right after the break.
America still mourns, and together we still remember. Stay with us. There's more American Sunrise after this.